Hi, and welcome to this quick video. Today, what we're going to look at is the integration between Blue Prism, which is one of the leading solutions for robotic process automation, and BeyondTrust. And we're going to look at the integration from a password management perspective. We're going to look at our two different solutions from BeyondTrust, BeyondTrust Password Safe and BeyondTrust DevOps Secrets Safe can be used to centrally manage and audit, access to all the privileged passwords that Blue Prism would need to execute its different tasks. So let me first show you, one of the internal features for Blue Prism. And Blue Prism has the possibility to store credentials. So it is possible to create some credentials and to control who has access to those credentials or which process or which application has access to those credentials. But some organizations may prefer to manage those credentials in the same place where they already manage other types of credentials for privileged access. So let's look at an example here. And we have configured here, one of the workflows from the training material that's provided by Blue Prism, and it's basically just a little piece of workflow that will launch an application called Centrix and will authenticate the user into that application. So in the middle of the workflow, these are some of the nodes I added. I will explain in a few minutes what they do. But the idea here, this process or workflow is checking out one of the safe credentials. And you can see that here by using the credential name that's stored in a variable here, the Centrix solution password. And it will inject that credential into the login interface for the Centrix application. So it's possible to automatically sign on the user by injecting staff number and incident. And let me show you with the original password that's stored by Blue Prism. Let me show you how that works. So I'm just going to reset back to using my default password here. That's stored in Blue Prism itself. I'm just going to go through a test run for this process. So first thing that happens, it will launch the application and it will obtain the credentials. You can also see that it's also obtaining the credentials from Password Safe and then Secret Safe. But right now the password that I'm injecting into it is the one that we retrieve from local credential manager in Blue Prism. And that's working, of course. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tweak the workflow a little bit. And instead of using the password that comes from the local credential manager, I will actually retrieve a value that's stored in the secret variable. And this is the one that's retrieved using Password Safe. And you can see that here in the workflow. So it's doing the Password Safe checking out of credentials. And now you can see that this is a new virtual business object that is specific to BeyondTrust Password Safe. So we basically are accessing Password Safe through the API, so we can use an API key, the run as username that we're going to be using to access the API, the name of the Password Safe server, and then, where is this password stored? So we decided to store that password inside a manager account that's associated to a system name called app01. And we have control for duration in minute, and the reason that can be also added for accountability in Password Safe. So let's go ahead, execute the workflow, but now we will use this value that's called secret that is retrieved from Password Safe. So I'm just going to reset the process again and go through it. And you're going to see as it's going through the Password Safe checkout steps, it's retrieving a secret that it's storing in a variable, a password variable. And then this is the value that's injected into the application, and it works as expected. Now I'm going to do the same, but switching to my third type of credential. which is basically Secrets Safe. And here that gets interesting, because if I'm using Secrets Safe, it's a simpler API server. I only need to provide an application name. We use an identity for the application. There's also an API key that's used, and then the secret that we want to retrieve. So we decided to create a secret object or container called RPA/Blue Prism, and then Centrix password. And that's my DevOps Secrets Safe server here, the server name. And again, we're going to use this node to retrieve and store the password in a variable called SSSecret. So let's change our workflow here. So we use the password obtained from the Secrets Safe virtual business object instead. So I'm going to delete that value. That was the one coming from password safe. And I will retrieve the one coming from Secrets Safe. Let's reset the process and let's run it again. Of course, in real life, I would be running those in control mode, but for testing and demonstration, it's a good way to feature the integration. And again, no surprise, the password is injected. So here, just to recapitulate, we basically looked at 3 different ways to retrieve the credentials to be consumed in a process for Blue Prism RPA. The first one was the standard local credential method. Second one was password safe with this VBO object, virtual business object. And then we also showed Secrets Safe. And the idea here is to provide simple to use VBO objects that are reusable. Here I'm injecting, the values straight into VBO, but of course I could externalize this to some variables. And the idea is to show that, hey, doesn't matter, where you want to store your passwords, if you want password safe to manage them, if you want secret safe to manage them. Using these VBOs, you can do that from within a process in Blue Prism. So that concludes for today's quick demonstration. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I hope you'll have a good day.